The first 15 minutes after a meal may be more important for your blood sugar than most people realize. You finish eating, you clear the plate, then you sit on the sofa, watch television, or stay at the table talking. Meanwhile, glucose from that meal is entering your bloodstream, and your pancreas is working hard to control it. But there is one small movement you can do while sitting that activates a hidden muscle deep inside your calf. That muscle can use glucose for energy and may help reduce the rise in blood sugar after eating. No gym, no special equipment, and no standing is required. I am Dr. Daniel Brooks, and this simple movement is called a seated soleus raise. It looks almost too easy to matter, but the muscle it activates has a special ability to keep working for long periods without tiring quickly. Before I show you exactly how to do it, you need to understand why the period after a meal matters so much, especially after 60. When you eat bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, sweets, or other carbohydrates, your digestive system breaks much of that food down into glucose. Glucose is not poison. Your brain and muscles need it for energy. The problem begins when a large amount enters your bloodstream quickly and remains there longer than it should. Your pancreas responds by releasing insulin. Insulin acts like a key. It helps move glucose out of the blood and into your cells, where it can be used or stored. When your muscles are active, they need fuel. They pull more glucose from the bloodstream. But when you sit still after eating, your muscles need very little energy. That leaves your pancreas carrying most of the burden. Over time, repeated blood sugar spikes can make your cells less responsive to insulin. Your pancreas then has to release more insulin to get the same result. This is called insulin resistance. It can develop quietly. You may not feel sick. Your fasting blood sugar may still look acceptable. But after eating, you become sleepy, your mind feels foggy, your eyelids become heavy. An hour or two later, you crave something sweet, even though you recently ate a full meal. Many people blame their age or lack of discipline, but sometimes they are feeling the rise and fall of blood sugar. Now, this next part matters. You do not have to perform a hard workout to help your muscles use glucose. A gentle muscle contraction can begin opening another pathway that allows glucose to enter working muscle cells with less dependence on insulin. That is why even a short walk after eating can help. But what if walking is difficult? What if your knees hurt? What if your balance is poor? What if the weather is bad, or you are sitting at a desk? That is where the soleus muscle becomes useful. The soleus is located deep inside the back of your lower leg. It sits underneath the larger calf muscle you can see. You use it when standing, walking, and controlling the movement of your ankle. Unlike many muscles that tire quickly, the soleus is built for endurance. It helps you remain upright for long periods. It contains many fibers that can keep using energy steadily. Researchers have studied a special seated movement designed to activate this muscle. In controlled laboratory conditions, sustained soleus activity reduced the rise in glucose and insulin after a glucose drink. That does not mean everyone will lower their blood sugar by the exact same percentage. The research used a carefully controlled technique for an extended period. A few casual heel lifts are not a cure for diabetes. But the basic lesson is still valuable. A working muscle uses more glucose than a resting muscle, and the soleus can be activated while you remain seated. Here is how to do it. Sit in a sturdy chair with both feet flat on the floor. Keep your knees bent and your feet about hip-width apart. Leave your toes and the front of your feet pressed against the floor. Now slowly lift both heels as high as you comfortably can. Pause briefly at the top, then lower your heels in a controlled way. Lift again, then lower. Your toes stay on the floor the entire time. Do not bounce. Do not rush. The movement should come from the ankle, and you should begin feeling the lower calf working. The technique is more important than speed. Lift smoothly, lower smoothly, and keep breathing normally. Start with 1 or 2 minutes if you have not done it before. Rest briefly, then repeat. Gradually work towards several short rounds over 10 to 15 minutes after a meal. You can do this while watching television, reading, working at a desk, or talking on the phone. But do not force through sharp pain. If you have a recent leg injury, severe swelling, a foot ulcer, a blood clot, or have been told not to exercise your legs, speak with your clinician first. Now, here is the best time to use it. Begin within about 30 minutes after finishing a meal. That is when glucose is starting to rise. Activating muscle during this period gives some of that glucose somewhere useful to go. You do not need to wait until you feel sleepy. You do not need to wait for your glucose monitor to show a high number. Make the movement part of the meal itself. Finish breakfast, then do seated heel raises. Finish lunch, then do them at your desk. Finish dinner, then use them while watching television. The easier a habit fits into your normal life, the more likely you are to keep doing it. Now, stay with me because the heel raise is helpful, but it is not always the best option. If you can walk safely, a short walk after eating may activate more muscle and provide a stronger overall benefit. A gentle 10-minute walk uses the calves, thighs, hips, and core. Those muscles all need energy so they can help clear glucose from the bloodstream. You do not need to walk fast. You do not need to become breathless. Walk around the block. Walk through the hallway. Walk around your living room. Walk to the end of the garden and back. The important part is moving instead of sitting immediately after the meal. For many older adults, 10 minutes after each main meal may be easier than trying to complete one long exercise session later in the day. And timing matters. A 30-minute walk in the morning is healthy, but it may not control the glucose from your evening meal as well as moving shortly after that meal. Think of post-meal movement as giving arriving glucose a destination. The food enters your blood, the muscles switch on, the glucose gets used. Now let me tell you about a patient I will call George. George was 68 and had been told his blood sugar was moving toward the prediabetes range. He was not eating enormous amounts of sweets, but his meals included plenty of bread, potatoes, and rice, and he usually sat down immediately after dinner. Within an hour, he felt exhausted. Then later in the evening, he wanted biscuits or chocolate. He believed he lacked willpower, but his routine was creating a predictable cycle. A large meal raised his glucose, his body released insulin, then his energy fell, and his brain asked for more quick fuel. George did not begin with a strict diet or a demanding exercise program. He started with one change. After dinner, he walked for 10 minutes. On days when his knees hurt, he sat in his chair and performed slow heel raises. After several weeks, he noticed that he was not as sleepy after eating. His evening cravings became less intense. He also became more confident about moving after meals. That is the real value of a simple habit. It creates momentum. Now, you may be wondering whether this movement can replace medication. No. If you take metformin, insulin, or another diabetes medicine, continue using it exactly as prescribed. Do not reduce or stop medication because you started walking or doing heel raises. Movement is a support tool, not a replacement for medical care. And there is an important warning for people who take insulin or medicines that can cause low blood sugar. Exercise may lower glucose further. If you are at risk of hypoglycemia, ask your clinician how to monitor safely around meals and activity. Signs of low blood sugar can include shaking, sweating, sudden hunger, confusion, weakness, dizziness, or a fast heartbeat. If you experience these symptoms, follow the treatment plan your healthcare team has given you. Now, let us talk about the meal itself. Post-meal movement helps, but it cannot completely cancel a meal overloaded with refined carbohydrates and sugar. If breakfast is sweet cereal, white toast, and juice, your blood sugar may rise quickly. If lunch is a large serving of white rice with little protein or fiber, the same thing can happen. If dinner includes potatoes, bread, dessert, and a sweet drink, 10 minutes of heel raises will not erase everything. The best results come from combining movement with a more balanced plate. Try to include protein, vegetables, and fiber with your carbohydrates. Protein and fiber slow digestion, so glucose enters the bloodstream more gradually. For example, instead of eating bread alone, add eggs and vegetables. Instead of a large plate of white rice, use a smaller portion with beans, chicken, fish, or vegetables. Instead of drinking fruit juice, eat a piece of whole fruit. The fiber helps slow the sugar. The goal is not to remove every carbohydrate. The goal is to avoid sending a large amount of glucose into the bloodstream all at once while your muscles remain completely inactive. Now, this next point becomes especially important after 60. Muscle mass naturally declines with age unless you actively protect it. This loss is called sarcopenia. Less muscle means less tissue available to store and use glucose. Think of your muscles as storage rooms for fuel. When you lose muscle, you lose storage space. The same meal then creates more pressure on your blood sugar system. That is why older adults need both daily movement and some form of safe strength training. The seated soleus raise is a good beginning, but it should not be the only movement you do. If your health allows, include walking, sit-to-stand exercises, wall push-ups, light resistance bands, or other movements recommended by your doctor or physical therapist. Strong muscles protect more than blood sugar. They support balance, they protect joints, they reduce fall risk, they help you remain independent, and they give glucose somewhere to go after you eat. Now, here is a simple plan you can remember. After breakfast, move for 10 minutes. After lunch, move for 10 minutes. After dinner, move for 10 minutes. Walk when you can. Use seated heel raises when you cannot. If 10 minutes is too much, begin with 2 or 3 minutes and build slowly. Consistency matters more than intensity. Do not wait until next week. Try the movement after your next meal. Sit upright. Keep your toes down. Lift your heels. Lower them slowly. Keep going at a comfortable pace. Notice how your calves feel. Then pay attention to your energy during the next 2 hours. Do you feel less sleepy? Is your thinking clearer? Are your cravings less intense? One day will not tell you everything, but repeated daily use may reveal a pattern. If you monitor your blood sugar at home, you can also ask your clinician whether it is useful to compare readings before and after meals. Do not become frightened by one number. Look for patterns over time. You may also want to ask about a hemoglobin A1C test. This blood test estimates your average glucose over the previous few months. It can help identify prediabetes or diabetes that may not be obvious from a single fasting test. But remember, blood sugar is only one part of metabolic health. Your waist size, blood pressure, triglycerides, sleep, muscle strength, and daily activity also matter. Now, what should you avoid doing after meals? Avoid collapsing into a chair for several hours. Avoid taking a nap immediately after a heavy meal if that becomes your daily pattern. Avoid thinking that exercise later in the week will fully undo sitting after every meal. And avoid treating movement like punishment for eating. This is not punishment. It is normal human biology. For most of history, people moved after meals. They cleared the table, washed dishes, cared for animals, worked outside, or walked home. Sitting motionless after every meal is a modern habit, not something the body was designed around. Even housework can help. Wash the dishes, wipe the counter, sweep the floor, put food away, walk around while talking on the phone. These ordinary movements activate muscles and help your body manage the fuel that just arrived. Now, I want you to remember the hidden muscle in your calf. The soleus does not look impressive. You cannot easily see it. You may never have heard its name before, but when you activate it, it needs energy, and glucose is one of the fuels it can use. That simple fact gives you a practical tool, not a miracle, not a cure, a tool, one that costs nothing and can be used almost anywhere. I am Dr. Daniel Brooks. After your next meal, do not sit completely still. Walk for 10 minutes if you can. If walking is difficult, sit safely and perform slow heel raises with your toes on the floor. Make it part of your routine. Because controlling blood sugar is not only about what you remove from your plate, it is also about what you ask your muscles to do with the food you just ate. One small movement after meals may help reduce blood sugar spikes, protect insulin sensitivity, support your energy, and reduce the load on your pancreas. And after 60, those small daily choices can help protect your eyesight, kidneys, nerves, feet, heart, and independence for years to come. Everything shared here is for general education only. It is not personal medical advice. Speak with your healthcare professional before changing your exercise routine, especially if you have diabetes. Take glucose-lowering medicine, have balance problems, foot wounds, severe circulation disease, or a recent leg injury.